Hey, everybody. My name's Andres, assistant principal percussion of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
My name's Scott. I'm the third horn of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
And I'm Abe. I'm the assistant principal cellist of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
And this is our very first podcast episode of Between Two Stands, a classical musicians podcast about classical music. So, this is our first podcast. We're transitioning into radio now.
A classical musician's look into classical music.
Yes, exactly. And
How do you look at a podcast?
Carefully.
Okay. That's my dad joke for the day. I think I'm done.
Abe.
Nice.
No. So that's how we're starting this. Episode 1 ruined already by Abe.
Episode 1, dad joke.
Well placed. So, just right off the bat, what do you guys enjoy about podcasts? I know you guys listen to podcasts. Why do you listen to podcasts? What do you enjoy about them?
Abe, I know you've given this question a lot of thought. Why don't you answer?
I was going to tell you the same thing, Scott. Well, I mean, I like to listen to what I want to listen to when I want to listen to it. So that's what's great about a podcast, right? It's because you never have to miss your favorite show,
Right.
Yeah, but
Right.
I listen,
It's
I
on
listen
demand.
to like murder mysteries, like Serial, things like that are really. I guess that's not really a murder mystery, but that's more, I don't even, crime stories, right? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that just like a good deep dive into
Into
one
somebody's
specific?
right.
Yeah.
But there's like some true crime ones that I listen to some political ones like Pod Save America. Just get some it's a little bit like this, right? Like a politician's look at politics.
Right. Right. We got to come up with, see what their tagline is. Scott, which ones do you listen to?
Oh, I also do some true crime stuff, like My Favorite Murder. I'm a bit of a murderino, and they're awesome. It's nice to have a look at something serious that isn't serious itself. But my like media consumption is almost always either completely random, like there's no pattern. For instance, I was listening to a podcast today. It was Naked Science. It's this British podcast, and they talk about, whatever's happening in science. And they were talking about toilet training cows. So that's a thing that
You
now
never know when you're going to need to know that skill.
Well, I love the most random information. Y'all know me well enough now that like if it's really obscure, I want to know it. Like it's things that are important to know, not so much. But like toilet training cows, yes, I am in. So
It's good for trivia night at the local bar.
I know. As long as they ask the right questions, then I know all the right answers.
So do the cows get a treat when they go in the right place? What is
Actually, yes, that's exactly what it is. They have like a toilet room. The problem is okay, I'm going into it. The cow urine is really bad for the environment if it's locally placed, if it's all in a really small area. So they're trying to train them to go in either different areas or to collect it so they can spread it out because it has a lot of nitrogen in it, and it's bad for the environment.
Ladies and gentlemen, if that's not reason to listen to podcasts, I don't know what is.
Exactly. See, now I know. I can even explain it back to you. I'm an active listener. What about you, Andres?
It's a classical music's look into cow urine.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think what I love about it is that you can kind of be doing other things too while you're listening to podcasts. Like if you're in the car, or even like cleaning the house whenever that happens in a blue moon, or you can just be listening to things that you like, or So I actually listen to there's a really good news one called The Daily, which I think a lot of people listen to. Just little short snippets. Little short snippets of what's going on, and just really concise, little snippets of news. And I kind of like the history ones too. Like History Unplugged is a good one. It kind of delves into some like very specific characters or moments in history, and kind of expands on that. And it's just a good way to absorb information, I found, and pass the time. Good for road trips too. So
So, what are you excited to share on this podcast? Are there any topics that y'all are like kind of anxious to get into that we're going to talk about?
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to, like, personally, I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know some of the soloists and the people we perform with, and some of the conductors, and you know, even though they're classical musicians, I feel like that it's such a different lifestyle than we live. You know, when we kind of go to the same um, concert hall and rehearse at the same place, they're traveling, they're you know they're on the road constantly. So I'm kind of looking forward to hearing, you know, what are some of their favorite uh, places they performed, and pieces they play. You know, kind of like we don't get a lot of time with some of the soloists or conductors to kind of have that conversation. So I think that's kind of something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could also understand that even now, though it's really different, a lot of it would obviously be the same just because our backgrounds are a certain way. And, you know, the training is not specifically different to become a soloist instead of becoming an orchestral musician. So,
Right.
yeah.
And kind of like when those paths like, you know, diverged, you know, it's kind of like at a certain point they're like, okay, I want to be a soloist. So anyway, that's, I'm looking forward to that. What about you?
So, one of the things I feel like I get asked a lot of the same questions over and over again by people that maybe aren't as familiar with either the orchestra or classical music in general. Things like, you know, there's a frustrating question that comes up every now and then, which is, "Oh, you're a musician. That's great, but what do you do for your job?" And it's like, "Oh, that hurts a little bit." Actually, like you wouldn't say that to somebody that plays football for a living, and
Right.
but a lot of people do think that this is like just a hobby when it is like our full-time profession. And the fact that we can use this platform to kind of educate in that way what our job really is and what it means and how seriously we take it, and then sometimes how fun it can be at the same time, is one of the things I'm excited to talk about. What about you, Abe?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I can't tell you how many times I'll be meeting somebody and say, "Oh, you're a musician. You make a living?"
Right.
Right. And it's just, yeah, it's at the same time very understandable and frustrating. So I like the idea of educating and just sort of letting people know. But I also, I'm really excited about, you know, coming out of the pandemic and having people, like having us sort of be, now that we're kind of coming into our own as a show, that we're going to be able to kind of like talk people through some of the season a little bit, like an actual normal season where we have an audience with people. There's people in audiences, right?
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been
I
so
don't
long.
remember. Yeah. I think that'll be really fun too, because we'll be able to have you know, a few more live events, like where we're actually in person instead of virtual things, and it'll be really fun.
Well, I think that's a good transition for me to talk about, you know, when you guys are starting the season, that I am actually, after having a year and a half off because of the pandemic, I am taking even more time off because I'm having a kid. My wife and I are expecting our son in about a month now. And so I'm just taking some time off just to kind of figure out, you know, how to do that job, because there's no conservatory that really prepares you for that. But you know, I thought it would be kind of an interesting thing to talk about, because this isn't a question that we get asked a lot, is kind of like, you know, our permanence and being able to transfer to different jobs or positions. And it's kind of an interesting subject because, you know, our job is so permanent in terms of, you know, there's not really like a moving up type situation. I mean, if you, unless you re-audition, or there's not really a transferring situation unless you re-audition. So, you know, it's a very like, you know, permanent job, which is great. And also, it can not be great sometimes too. So I kind of wanted to get your guys's opinion on that.
So firstly,
Right.
you totally
So, like,
blindsided us. I had no idea that
thought.
y'all were expecting like
Yeah,
this
seriously.
is. What do you mean you're not playing? Like
Congratulations.
what? And you did
Yeah.
this on purpose so you wouldn't have to play. You got extra time off. I can see it now.
Scott, were you invited to the baby shower?
Yeah.
No,
Neither
No.
was I. Where's my invitation?
Andres, terrible.
Neither was I, if that makes you feel any better.
So, go ahead, Scott.
I mean, some background information on this that I think a lot of people would be interested in knowing is the way we get our jobs is so unique. Like an audition is posted and people come from all over the world typically to take these auditions. So you kind of have to go where the job is. So here in the Detroit Symphony, I know out of the three of us, none of us are from Detroit. And I think that's pretty common in a lot of orchestras. There aren't that many people. Maybe it's a slightly higher percentage of people because typically you want to be in your hometown orchestra to kind of have that family structure, but it doesn't often work out that way. And so you have to go where the job is. The only time an opening exists is when somebody else retires or leaves for other reasons, which doesn't happen that often. It's not like you re-audition every year like some other situations that people would know. So because of that, we're kind of in a unique position where promotions, like, it's not so much based on like job performance. You do well enough here, then you'll get to the next level. You kind of have to keep your skills up to stay where you are. And then if you wanted to get anything else, you'd have to re-audition for the next step, which might be an orchestra on the other side of the country or world.
Right, and also there's not a lot of moving up within an orchestra, so because of the way that auditions work, it's very. I can't think of too many examples where people are in the section and then win a title chair in the same orchestra. I mean, do you guys know of many people that do that? Have done that?
Not many, a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. I mean, you winning an audition is tough, no matter if you have the job or not. So it's just, yeah, it's and it gets harder. I feel like if you have a family, it's harder to prepare for it when you got to change a bunch of diapers, which Abe, I'm sure you can shed some light on a little bit.
I mean, I can play the first box suite while changing a diaper. So, what can you do?
Oh,
Kidding.
man, I can't even play.
I know what you mean. It can be kind of tough to find, like to like get the focus that you need to be able to practice, like let alone prepare for an audition, but practice generally speaking, because there's like an element of focus that we need, and it takes time to sort of get to that place where you are focused. Right.
It's not like a switch that you could just turn on and be in that zone.
Right. And that's a whole other podcast episode is practicing. Yeah. So we can, we can touch on that later.
Oh,
but I can't tell you, how many times I take out my cello, right, to get ready to practice, no matter what it's for. And I hear like little footsteps running, and, Sam wants to hear his favorite songs. And so, we start playing, and it's really cute and it's great. And I love it. And then it can be really distracting. Right.
So how good are you at Banana Phone at this point?
Or Baby Shark? Can you play Baby Shark in all keys?
I banned Baby Shark from this house.
Okay, good. That sounds like a good.
I refused, and even when we went to a library reading or like story time at the library, and the librarian started singing Baby Shark, and I just refused. I just didn't do it.
You're like, I don't know this one.
Yeah, never heard it before. But I'm pretty good at Baby Beluga, and he's pretty interesting because, like, Raffi and Yo-Yo released the 40th anniversary edition, right?
Oh,
huge deal. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so now he was like, every time I listen to Baby Beluga, he wants to hear, if it's not the one with Yo-Yo Ma, he says, no, Yo-Yo Ma, and then we have to find that one.
It's discerning tastes.
Right. And then I start to play it for him, and he's like, no, Yo-Yo Ma.
He's like, no.
I'm sorry, Sam. You got the wrong dad.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see the xylophone / changing table.
Yes.
That's going to be the best.
Now I'll have an actual use for it in the house. You know, it's
So
yeah.
it's not just furniture anymore.
Yeah, it's not just the table. Now it's a changing table.
Okay.
You got to get creative.
So, since you're not joining us for at least the first part of our season, a return to playing a regular season, is there something that you're a little bit sad you can't join us for? I mean, obviously you're thrilled for the reason that you're not going to be here, but
Yeah,
there are exciting parts.
I'm really I guess the proper word is I have a lot of FOMO for honestly it's just having Yoder there, and playing in those few concerts with Yoder. I mean, there was so much anticipation for this new conductor, and just going through that whole process was tedious, but also really exciting as we were narrowing it down. And when we finally picked one, it was like, it was just such a great feeling. There's magical feeling in the orchestra kind of right before COVID hit. And, all through COVID, there's this anticipation of starting with him. And so that I think I'm really going to miss, because it's just been like 2.5, 3 years in the making, 4 years in the making, really. So, I'm disappointed that I'm not going to be there for those opening concerts. But maybe you guys can have a little cutout of me in the back or something, and just like it'll feel like I'm there on the webcast.
That'll be perfect. We need something to draw on.
Yeah. So what do you guys? Yeah, exactly. What do you guys? What concerts are you looking forward to? Like in this fall, basically, up until January. Is there anything that stands out?
I mean, you're cutting me off before my favorite concert, so because my favorite concert's in January, probably.
Oh, okay, which one's that?
Including January, let's say.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for allowing me to include January, guys.
This is an all-inclusive podcast here.
We include all the months.
Yeah.
So, I'm really excited about the Florida tour, right? And the program for the Florida tour includes the Dvorak cello concerto, right, with Elisa Wallerstein. So I'm really excited for that, because it's a Florida tour and it's winter, assuming that the tour can still happen, of course. And Dvorak Concerto is just one of my all-time favorite pieces, not just because I'm a cellist, but I think it is one of the great pieces in the symphonic repertoire. Beautiful horn solo.
I mean, that's why it's great.
Exactly. Right. And then the cello comes in and everybody's like, oh, where's the horn?
Basically.
Right. So I'm excited about that one, but I think, Andres, to your point about what you're gonna miss, like I think the first concert, back with Yoder is gonna be a really emotional one, certainly for the orchestra, and hopefully for the audiences who are able to join us too. So I'm really looking forward to that.
What about you, Scott?
I can't piggyback on what you said enough, Andres. Like the fact that Yoder is going to be starting with an audience as our music director in earnest. He's really here. He's going to be conducting us quite a bit, and after the whole process of choosing a new music director, which is a whole podcast in itself, and then the anticipation that was delayed because of COVID, just starting that and seeing how things are going to change. It's a huge change when you have somebody on the podium, which is yet another podcast episode. What do conductors actually do? And I think we're really lucky to have who we have. But that being said, there are a lot of other concerts too. Like even in October, we have the Tchaikovsky Fifth Symphony, which anytime I can hear our principal horn player, Carl, play that solo in the second movement, it's a great thing. Like it's fabulous to hear him play it every time. And I mean, Bugs Bunny at the Symphony, like who hasn't watched those cartoons that have these great classical things and gotten a kick out of it. It's fun, and the
Yeah,
fact that we haven't
a lot
done it.
of I feel like a lot of the reason why I know so much classical music is because of cartoons. I mean, like seriously, it was the whole soundtrack of Looney Tunes. I mean, a lot of cartoons use classical music so well, and it's like such a familiar. Some of these tunes are so familiar because of that.
Okay, so one time I was watching an episode of The Smurfs, which is embarrassing, but let's not go there. And I watched it for like 5 minutes, and I heard Franck D minor, Tchaik 6, Till, just all these different pieces that I'm like, oh, they completely ripped. Oh, they're not even trying. This is just like all classical music setting the mood.
Scott, can I ask a question? I think this is a really important one for our fans here. So you recognized all those people, all those pieces when you were a kid?
No, he was watching it a week ago, I bet. He was watching the Smurfs not too long ago.
So it wouldn't be unusual for me to like stick on the Smurfs for a little bit now, but I was probably in high school at the time. So it's even worse. Like you can tell how popular I was with everybody in high school, but no, I wasn't that little. I probably would have recognized.
Do you guys have fun? Like, do you guys ever watch some of the old cartoons that you used to watch?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was actually going to mention Ren and Stimpy. That was one of my favorites of all time, and they use classical music all over the place.
Oh, that's funny. I haven't rewatched that.
Oh man, that's their whole soundtrack. It's amazing.
Right, and that, like Ren and Stimpy was sort of the era of cartoons that was both appropriate for children and also really funny to adults.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's good to revisit now.
Appropriate for children, I would say it's probably borderline.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it was on Nickelodeon.
Right.
It's probably inappropriate for everybody.
So these pieces, you guys talked about like listening to some players play and other people play, but are there any pieces coming up that you're looking forward to actually playing yourselves?
Oh yeah. It's a good season. I mean, Mahler 1 is in the season. It's a little bit later in, but anytime we can play a Mahler symphony as a horn player, I'm very excited to do it. The tour rep that we have, Brahms 2 and Mussorgsky Pictures and Exhibition, they're great. They're great. And the fact that we'll do those with Yoder, I think it makes it more exciting just because it's going to be a new thing. We're going to be really discovering how we want to sound together. See what I did there?
Yeah.
What about you, Abe?
I'm actually looking forward to the Respighi pieces on the first program. I love Respighi. That takes me back to like youth orchestra days and just gigantic orchestra on stage. I mean, awesome.
So how old were you the first time you played Pines of Rome?
I think I was a sophomore or a junior.
College, high school?
High school.
Yeah. What about you, Andres?
Yeah, that's I think I must have been like a junior in college. It was like a music festival, and for those who haven't heard it yet, it's just like a very loud, bombastic, and kind of kind of virtuosic playing for everybody. So it's amazing that you played that in high school, Abe. I mean, that's kind of like an ambitious piece, that's awesome. What about you, Sky? Have you played
I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It was also at a summer camp that I went to, the Sewanee Summer Music Festival. I had a blast there as a younger student, and we did Pines. And one of the things, it's always good, especially here in Detroit, to hear our colleagues. So the fact that that's coming up first, there are so many solo moments for people in that piece. The trombone section gets a huge feature in the slow movement after this trumpet solo that, is it the trumpet solo in this? Anyway, huge trumpet solo, huge clarinet solo. And then also ends with such a bang. Like it's really loud and bombastic, like Andres said, which is, for those of you who don't know, on Fantasia 2000, the whales jumping and everything else, that was Pines. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, listen, we got lots more to talk about. And really looking forward to this. I think this transition to podcast is actually going to be really fun. It's going to open a lot more doors for us. So I'm really looking forward to this and to future episodes with you guys.
Me too. Can't wait
Absolutely.
to see. Can't wait to do more.
And Andres, good luck to you and Shana. I hope everything goes well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'll be sending you some baby pics.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
All right, guys.
See you next time.